Hi there guys, welcome to another review video, and today I have with me one of the most sought after soundbars in the market currently. On the previous video I promised you that I was going to review a JBL soundbar, and there it is. We have the JBL 5.1 surround soundbar with us today. We're just going to have a closer look at it and answer the question as to why people are currently buying this soundbar despite the price being a bit higher compared to other soundbars that we have on the market. So let's dive straight into it. So this is the JBL 5.1 surround, and this is how the exterior design actually looks like. People normally confuse it with the JBL Bar 500, which is different from the JBL 5.1 surround. There's a big difference, especially in terms of watt and the year of manufacturer. So this one was the first one to be manufactured before the JBL Bar 500. So from there you can tell the difference. And then we have also a difference in terms of power output from this JBL 5.1 and the JBL Bar 500. Now onto our device today. This is how it looks like. You can see on top there, on top of the bar, we have the power button, we have the volume down button. There's a specific hole here. I tell you the function of this hole later. We have the plus icon, then we have the input or source button over there. JBL logo as usual. The bar is well designed, very compact. For those people who love compact designs, I think this bar qualifies in terms of compact design. Here we have the wire mesh that encloses the speakers or the drivers we have inbuilt here. Remember, this is a 5.1 channel soundbar, so it means we have 5 mid-range speakers or drivers on this bar here, and then the subwoofer. Now we have 5 speakers in here that we can't be able to see, unfortunately, because of the proper seal that we have over here. One thing I really love about the JBL is how they normally seal the products. You can see even how small these holes are, and you know, most of the cases these sound system, they get destroyed by cockroaches and pests in the house. So having small holes like these prevents those pests from getting in to the bar and maybe destroying the motherboard and the rest. Now the bottom part of it, this is how it looks like. See, we have those small holes for screws to open the screws that encloses the bar. This is where the motherboard of this bar actually is. And then we also have those mounting clips here and here. This can help you to mount the bar. Maybe you want to mount it somewhere on the wall, so you have to use those 2 clips over there. And at the back cover, let me just unplug these first. You see what we have on the back. So here on the back we have the labeling. Let me just put it upright. Let you see. So as you can see, it supports Dolby Atmos, Dolby Audio. See, then there's Dolby Vision, JBL Dolby Vision. I'll explain to you that later what that means. It has HDMI support. So many factors. And then here is where we have the inputs now and the outputs from this JBL soundbar. The first port we have here, this is the power button, and then we have USB port right over here. Remember, for this USB port, it can be used as a servicing port to this JBL soundbar, or it can also be used as a media playback feature. And it's not all the JBL that have this USB port that support that USB playback feature. Some of them do not support the USB playback. You can only use the port for updating. So kindly check with the supplier, because most of the soundbars that are designed for the US region are the ones that have that USB playback feature. Then we have audio optical in output here for sound input to the soundbar. Then we have Ethernet port. I'll explain to you the function of these. Remember, now it's a smart system. And then we have HDMI out ARC here. This is the one that you connect from your TV to allow the soundbar now to play sound from your TV through HDMI port right over here. Remember, you have to connect it on your TV where you have HDMI ARC 2. So it's HDMI ARC on the TV, then HDMI ARC on this particular soundbar. Then here we have HDMI in again. I know you're wondering why we have 2 HDMI ports. So what these 2 ports do, you see this one is HDMI out and this one is in. They support 4K audio, or those videos that have high quality sounds, to be able to play on this soundbar. So those audio that have Dolby, yeah, the videos or movies that have Dolby Atmos, if you use the HDMI cable here from the TV to the soundbar, you'll be able to get that sound quality as it was designed by the editors of that particular movie, or the designers of that particular movie or song that you're listening to. So for you to get that proper quality or that original sound quality, you have to connect it from either of these ports we have over there. Then here we have some manufacturer, some of the specs written here. Some are written in China, some are written in English. You can see here it's JBL 5.1 surround with wireless subwoofer, nothing much. And remember, this subwoofer, the length of this subwoofer is around 1 meter. That is around 1018 meters. That is 1 meter. And then for the thickness here, it's around 50 millimeters. Then we have here the width. The width is around 100 millimeters, so it's not that big, not that slim. It's just to the exact size that you'll want, so as to make it look at least nice and still function properly. Now, and one thing I was forgetting is that this thing is actually so heavy. On my hand it looks light, but it's around 2.8 kgs. Yeah, so you can imagine how heavy this is, and it's mainly due to the good driver speakers, the 5 speakers we have over here, and even the motherboard that is enclosed right here. Then on the sides we have 2 tweeters that are hidden, you can't be able to see them. One is on this side, and there's another tweeter there. Now, as for the subwoofer, because this is the strongest point for this JBL subwoofer, this is how the subwoofer looks like. You have the JBL logo over there. Then you have those stands, yeah, the top cover. You can see how the top part is. It's somewhat like we have a square here with the soft or rounded edges. Then at the back, this is how the back looks like. We have this big hole for port for air inflow or outflow to the air, yeah. And then at the back you can see what we have here. This is the pairing button for you to pair the soundbar, this soundbar and the subwoofer. You have to use this port. So one of this time maybe you're using the soundbar and you don't get the bass, so you use this cord to pair. You long press on it to pair, so that when it's functioning it will blink white and not orange. So currently it's in orange mode because the bar is off, and that's why it's in orange mode. Then we have the power button right over here. Remember, these two things are wireless, yeah? The bar, you power it on its own with the power slot right here, and then the bar, you power it on its own somewhere else. Now let's have a look at what we have on the bottom here. This is the driver for this JBL subwoofer. It's around 10 inch. It's 10 inch actually. So big compared to most of the soundbars that we've seen in the market. I don't think there's any soundbar that has a closer or a bigger driver like this. Most of them have 8 inches, 6 inches, but this one has 10 inch. So this is so big, yeah. And then one interesting thing about this is the cabinet is also so big. It's around, the height of this cabinet is close to 1/2 meter. Just to confirm with this bar, see, if I place it like that, let's just compare the height. You see, it's almost half the height of that. Now there's something I was forgetting to explain to you here. You see, this soundbar looks like maybe a seat, because here it's very flat, you can sit on it. There's no side firing speakers on this side, but believe me, when it's on, you can't withstand the shaking of the trembling that is coming out from this cabinet. Underneath it here we have these rubbers for elevation. You can see we have those. This is the stand, these rubbers right over here. This helps the subwoofer to have proper grip on the floor where we've placed it. And the subwoofer, the sub is down firing, so it means the sound gets to hit the floor or the surface where it's placed upon before it gets to your ears, as opposed to some of the subwoofers that we have that are always front firing, like the ones we have in Sony and Samsung, the front or side firing speakers. So for the side firing speaker, the sound gets to your ears first, but here, because it's down firing, it gets to the floor or the surface. So whichever place you place it will affect the sound quality emanating from this subwoofer, and it's normally or very advisable to place it on a flat surface, just a normal floor, not a wooden floor or a surface that has fiber clothing like this, but it works perfectly well on flat cemented surfaces. Now let's turn it on and see how it turns on. And this is where we have the LED indicator. Remember, the power button is right on top there. The only disadvantage with it, I think maybe due to the fact that it's smart, it takes a lot of time to boot up or just to power on, because you'll see this loading icon for close to a minute. And this is how the remote is. It's very simple. Mine is a bit worn out because this is a used model. And on the remote, you can see here there's that mute icon on the remote. Some functions are rubbed off. We have the bass control icon here, and then you have HDMI input source, Bluetooth, TV, and then the power button. Not so many things on the remote. Volume up, volume down button. I think it's a good idea, but maybe some features ought to be added on the remote, like control even the mid ranges and some other functionalities, of which you can do that with the JBL One app from the Play Store. You can be able to set it to a preference equalizer or sound settings, but I think they should have placed those functionalities on the remote so that it gets easier to control. So as for the bass control icon, you can be able to control the bass level. Right here we have it at 5. This is the maximum bass level. You can drop it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 is the highest and the deepest. Now we have the bass level, the bass control icon here, but you don't have the mid-range control icon on the remote, so it gets difficult to control the mid-ranges. Just to overcome that, if you want to listen it at higher mid-range and lower the bass, you just come to the remote and lower the bass, so that at least you get to listen to the sound of the music or movie at whichever sound levels you want. I think maybe they should have created or placed an icon on the remote here to control the mid-range, so that at least you balance it to your liking. But again, I know most of you are usually so interested on the bass quality, so that's why maybe JBL decided to put a lot of emphasis on the soundbar and not the surround or front firing speakers. Now, so that is TV input source. If you connect the HDMI ARC, and then we have Bluetooth mode right over there. Remember, it has Bluetooth 4.2 and not 5.0. 4.2 means the data transfer rate is around 1 megabits per second, and then the Bluetooth range is close to 60 meters, not so wide as what we have on the 5.0 Bluetooth models. And the volume range here, because this is something I normally like to concentrate on. For this JBL, you can see, let me just add up the volume range. You see something here. The maximum volume range is 31. Now, maybe some of you might think the volume range is a bit low, but this is not the case. This is the volume range. So what the JBL did is, instead of having the volume range from 0 to 100 or 0 to 50, they decided to compress the range, so that when you just add a single, or you change the volume by just a single drop or increase, you get a very big difference. If I adjust the volume, let's say from 24 to 25, the difference will be so huge. And I really love this as compared to the other soundbars or sound systems, whereby you have to adjust the volume range from 0 to 100, because you take a lot of time adjusting the volume to get to that particular volume that you want, which is somehow accurate but not good, because in the world of today we don't have time for so many things. So we want something that is well calibrated and it's easier to adjust or maneuver through. So that is something that I really love about this. We are not going to do a sound test on this particular soundbar. I know you are very interested on the sound coming from this bar. And remember, the power rating on this soundbar, I forgot to tell you earlier, it's around 550 watts, 300 watts on the subwoofer, the output, so you can imagine how loud that is. Most of the soundbars we have, even from the Sony soundbars, those mid-range ones, They normally have 200 watts subwoofer at 240, but here we have 300 watts, and the driver is also big as compared to the other soundbar drivers. We have 10-inch driver, the others are always 8, 6, so it means the bass, the deepness in bass coming from this soundbar is so loud. Yeah? And then the remaining 250 watts is distributed on the bar here for the 5 speakers. Each of them has 50 watts. Then for the tweeters, now those ones consume so less power. Another interesting thing about this soundbar is that it consumes less power despite it being so loud, and the maximum volume range or loudness of this soundbar is around 103 decibels. It looks so simple yet so loud. One thing I love from this soundbar, the fact that it's wireless. It means you can just be able to have this bar on a stand or just mounted close to the TV, and then you play this subwoofer at maybe a particular corner in your room where you feel it's comfortable, because remember, most of these subwoofers, they function well in corners. The sound distribution in corners is pretty good. There's something here I was supposed to explain to you, the JBL virtual surround or virtual beam sound mechanism. I know you're wondering, maybe this thing is so small, it's so simple, how does the sound manage to reach you in a 3D manner? So it has that JBL virtual surround model where the sound coming from these bars, the speakers on the bar here, they hit the wall both on top at a particular angles, and then from the top or from those angles they come to your ears, creating that 3D effect that is so immense and so concentrated to the point that you won't even realize where the sound is actually coming from. And that's why we have this particular hole here. This is just for auto configuration of the sound depending on the room, so that it knows how it's supposed to control the volume levels of the mid-range and the subwoofer to create that immersive sound. And remember, this JBL soundbar, as it's smart, so it also supports Apple AirPlay for iOS features, and then it has Google Chromecast too, so you can be able to control it wirelessly through voice control and other features, especially remember through the JBL One app. Now guys, I lied, I was not going to do a sound test on this soundbar, but this review cannot be complete without sound test, because the sound coming from this JBL soundbar is so immersive, the bass is so deep, and I want you guys to have a listen to that. And just before I do that, if you have headphones in place, cover your head. If you are maybe watching this video on the television and maybe you have a soundbar ready, then pop the volume, because you're in for a very big shock. Let's listen to how deep the bass is and how the mid-ranges sound. So guys, we've come to the end of the review of this particular soundbar, and if you're in the market planning to get a soundbar and your budget range is around 500 USD, then I think you shouldn't give it a second thought, because most of the soundbars we have from Samsung and Sony, the high notch one clip switch, they're a bit expensive, and if you have maybe low range budget, you can there's some other Sony soundbars, Samsung soundbars, but the quality is not as good as what we have on the JBL soundbar if you consider the price tag or the price range. So let me know what you think about this JBL 5.1 surround soundbar in the comment section, and also let me know which other soundbar you'd love me to review in the next video. Be sure to stick around. Don't forget to leave a like on this video and don't forget to subscribe if you love the content.